Okay, so it looks like we're in full-blown campaign mode. 2 years to the elections. It felt to me like it was a bit too early since we're just 3 years into this presidency, into this government. But people have got to do what they got to do. Politicians, politics. So they are already beginning to do their politicking, and they're already beginning to sell their agendas. They're already coming up with their clever slogans to draw us in, and to gain their momentum. Well and good. But an interesting observation, it's almost as if we Kenyans, I don't know whether we're perplexed or what's happened to us, honestly. We literally stand in crowds along the road or in shopping centers and listen to these politicians come over to our hoods and sell their agenda. And it looks like we have been schooled or cultured, excuse me, to believe that the only people that can stand in front of us are certain people that come from a certain social standing, who are already of the political class, or at least have the potential to bankroll their campaigns because they have certain connections. That it would never be any random person standing in that crowd who is worth their salt in terms of what they're selling and their progressive thinking, that could be listened to and given an opportunity. And yes, granted, everyone has had to rise from somewhere, but for some reason, it feels like we keep recycling the same voices and then recycling the same names. And then even when those names and those voices and those personalities and figures start ebbing out of the ruling class, they then endorse to us who is next. And so I think by default, they are still in government, because they are probably ruling from behind the scenes. I guess that's what you would call deep state. I don't know. But it's almost very rare to come across a story whereby a certain simple someone from this area rises up in power and in politics and in rulership based on the admiration they've drawn from people because of their agenda and because of their value. And so, as I'm listening to all this, and let me tell you what, if I was just into the political circus, and if I was interested in political wrestling, this would be thoroughly entertaining to see the president dump his deputy, and we can argue back and forth who helped who, and I don't want to get into that. And then see this guy just rebrand himself, pick himself up, and go off in a direction that I don't know if that was not anticipated, and start gathering this momentum. If really I was, the kind of person who just enjoys all that stuff, I'll be like, oh, this is so good. This is so funny. Like, this is so wow. How the hunter has become the hunted, and how the underdog is now, has become your worst nightmare, is keeping you awake at night, etc., etc. If that was the way, the way to go, if I could just choose that route, I would find it thoroughly entertaining. But here's the thing. Even to those politicians who found themselves out in the cold, who want to be president. I've had various people saying, I want to be president in 2027 or in 2030, whatever. I want to be president in 2032. I want to be president. My question is, why do you want to be president? What's your agenda? What is it that the presidency platform gives you that helps you to serve Kenyans better? Because honestly, that should be the only good reason. That if I become president, I have a bigger platform to do greater good. Honestly, if that's not on your mind, akisiko ubaya, so you just spares the narrative, spares the talk. By the way, it's so cold. Spare us standing in the cold listening to you, selling us all this vibe. Oh, how are you? Because let me tell you, it really comes across as this very self-indulgent, self-driven, what's that word? I forget the word. Almost like there's a sense of entitlement to this because I am, after all, so and so, talking to the locals. I think I speak for all Kenyans, and I am a Kenyan who would like to say that I am tired of being asked for employment by a worker whose last thing, the last thing on their mind is me as soon as I give them what they want. Listen, politicians, listen, Kenyans, listen, people in government. If you don't care enough to serve the people of this country, honestly, if you're just going there to line your pockets, if you just need to be in politics or to be the president of this country so you can feel better about yourself, you're using that platform wrongly. You are going to get in there and abuse office and abuse your authority because that office is meant to serve the interests of your typical Kenyan who doesn't have a platform, who wakes up every day and goes to work, goes to the farm, goes to the market. That's why they give you their vote. I can't for the life of me believe that you don't care. You don't give a damn about these people. You don't care about the little girl crossing the road going to school at 6 o'clock in the morning. You really don't give 2 shillings about her. You don't give a damn about that young man who just finished, is on an apprenticeship, is trying to start their business and start a family. You don't care. Why do you want to be president? Why do you go to these people if they mean nothing to you? And so it's incumbent upon you to really question yourself why you want to be in that seat. Because that will then determine how successful you will be. And let me tell you, whether we will continue singing your praises when you're gone, when you're dead and gone, like there's a few politicians, they weren't perfect, but there are people singing their praises to this day, and they're not even in this world anymore. Because you know what? At least even if they didn't do everything right, they did 1 or 2 things right. And let me tell you, Kenyans are grateful. Every Kenyan is grateful that they served them, that they have better road networks, that they have better internet connectivity, that they have better social amenities, that I don't have to drive to town, I don't know where to connect to where, that I can literally interconnect, for example, within counties without having to go a certain way because someone pulled out certain plans that have been settled for years and said, this is for Kenyans. The typical Kenyan does not need this headache to go to school, to go to work. And so we're going to make sure that the network is fantastic. It makes their life easier. Do you want to be that hero? Like in the Bible, the ladies would sing David's praise because he would beat up the enemies of Israel. Are you there to beat up the enemies of Kenyans, which is poverty? Lack of, enough education, lack of resources to further their businesses. Are you there to fight for us, or are you there to fight us? Why do you want to be president?